Hello, this is BBC News. I'm Catherine Biarahanga. Let's head to Bangkok and join my colleague Steve.
Hi, Catherine. Just in the last few minutes before you came to me, we did have some movement here in Bangkok. Some officers came round and they were asking the relatives of those victims of this collapsed building to go to another area. We're waiting to hear where they're being brought. It could be perhaps for a briefing, but we don't understand what's going on just yet. It's something we are keeping an eye on. Now, this building collapsed due to that earthquake all the way over in Myanmar on Friday. That 7.7 magnitude earthquake, really a significant event that's caused a lot of damage throughout Myanmar. The UN are saying that the severe lack of medical supplies, in fact, from trauma kits to tents, for health workers is really hindering earthquake relief efforts in Myanmar. They've also said that they've had reports that the military junta launched airstrikes less than an hour after Friday's earthquake, adding that, quote, it's almost as if they wanted to target the people responding to people trapped under the rubble. Now, our colleagues at BBC Burmese are reporting that the number of people who have died is now around 1,700, with 3,400 injured and 300 estimated to be missing. Now, the epicenter was near the second largest city of Mandalay, but its impact was felt more than 1,000 kilometers away here in Thailand, where 17 deaths have been confirmed so far. Now, we can also show you some live images now of the rescue efforts at the scene of that building collapse here in Bangkok. It's just past 6 p.m. in the evening. The sun is starting to go down here. Now, earlier we heard that the body of a man was pulled out today, and rescuers are working to rescue a woman who is trapped under the rubble. Our correspondent Arunade Mukherjee has been following developments both here in Bangkok and in Mandalay.
Aid and relief yet to reach the worst-hit areas of quake-hit Myanmar. Desperation and the race against time forcing locals to do everything possible to reach survivors and the dead. Most of Mandalay, Myanmar's second-largest city and home to 1.5 million people, has been reduced to rubble. After a rare appeal for international aid from the military junta regime, help has started coming in, led by China and neighboring India. Amidst the debris, relatives wait anxiously for any news of their loved ones. Hours after he spoke, his wife was pulled out late Saturday night. But the wait for thousands of others still continues. In neighboring Thailand, rescue workers in the capital city Bangkok have been working for nearly 48 hours to look for those missing.
My team are sending a robot in there, and the rescue team will drop down the robot in the tunnel, and we are gonna scan all the way inside of the tunnel.
Sensors have detected some signs of life, which they are verifying so they can target their efforts in that location. The mountain of debris is not making their jobs any easier, and adding to the burden of exhausted rescue workers is every minute and every hour that passes directly affects the chances of survival of those who might still be trapped inside. Arunade Mukherjee, BBC News, Bangkok.
Yes, the full picture of the devastation across Mandalay is still emerging. In fact, the country is still experiencing some aftershocks. We can show you some live images now from Mandalay, where you can see similar scenes to what we're seeing here in Thailand, where a building has collapsed. But Mandalay itself was struck by a 5.1 magnitude earthquake struck at 3:38 p.m. local time. That's today. This aftershock struck 28 kilometers northwest of Mandalay. And we also got word from a Mandalay resident, the city closest to the epicenter of the earthquake, describing how he's been trying to help the rescue operation.
We lifted the rubble ourselves and took the people out. I saw it all myself. I wasn't here when the collapse happened. We only got here after the collapse, and then we just started to help. We're still finding out if there are any more dead bodies. Since this is a restaurant and it was lunchtime, there were many people there. I'm not sure if there are going to be any more dead bodies. As far as I know, we rescued everyone and took out all the dead bodies on that day it happened, but I'm searching to see if there are any more dead bodies here. Well, there are still many places where rescuers can help. There are still many places left which haven't been given any help yet. Besides, the moat and the rubble of the collapsed buildings are as it is. We don't know whether people are trapped under the rubble. Quite a lot of places still need help.
Now, I spoke earlier to Karan Kamble. He's the medical coordinator for Doctors Without Borders, and he's currently in Yangon, in Myanmar. And I asked him to give me a brief of the situation on the ground and the operational difficulties that MSF is experiencing.
The major challenge for humanitarian aid to reach the affected states of Mandalay and Mandalay, Sagaing, and even Naypyidaw is the damage that has happened to the road. So it's their logistical challenges, which is preventing humanitarian aid from reaching the affected population.
And Karan, talk us through, or just give us some context here and help us understand what the healthcare infrastructure is like in Myanmar, and give us a sense of how it would be able to be cope with the devastation that we've been seeing.
So in each district or in each state, there are township hospitals and there are general hospitals where free of care healthcare was being made available previous to the earthquake. But currently we are receiving reports that the healthcare structures in Naypyidaw, in Mandalay, they've been destroyed and they are not functional anymore. And at this moment, it is really difficult for us to have a visual on what is happening in Mandalay because the access is very compromised. Like we could not even send our teams by air, but as of today morning, we have our team who is on the way to reach the affected areas via road routes. So we just need to wait and see what the assessment report comes like.
Yeah, you're coordinating the efforts for Doctors Without Borders. The logistical challenges do sound quite severe from how you've described them. Where's your area of focus now in Myanmar?
So at this moment, we are about to reach Mandalay. Like the team should arrive in a few hours, and we will make a rapid assessment. And based on what we find to be the most pressing needs, we will respond in a suitable manner. We, from our previous experiences working on earthquake-related disasters, we understand that there is a massive need for trauma care, especially orthopedic surgeries. There is a need for water and sanitation services to be restored so that there's access to clean and safe water to prevent any epidemics. And the biggest challenge that we also foresee would be in terms of mental health support. Currently, people are even afraid to go and sleep in their houses. So they're sleeping outside because they're so afraid. So at this moment, these would be the primary areas that would require support: trauma care, water sanitation, and mental health.
Yeah, it really is quite clear how extensive the challenges are facing Myanmar as a result of this earthquake that struck on Friday. I'm bringing your attention back here to Bangkok and the efforts that the government has been rolling out, trying to save people and bring bodies or survivors out from the rubble that you can see behind me. I spoke to earlier to Tavida Kamonvet. She's the deputy governor of Bangkok, and she gave me this update on the efforts that local authorities here have been making.
Actually, I just got back from the site, and we are still trying to actually get under the rubble, as actually I heard from your video before. And because the 30 floors of the building piling up, as the search and rescue would call it, the pancake of the building, that's really difficult to actually get through. So we actually changing a strategy of approaching into the site as time goes by. Right now, we get more of the machine, especially the scanner and the X-ray machine that help us to detect the movement, as well as to detect if we have kind of any sign at all that tells us that somebody is still alive or the vibe of anything. So we're trying to get that kind of machine up above the mountain of the rubble. And just before I left the scene, about 30 minutes ago, we actually get a little sign from the machine that we scanned down. However, we're still trying to triangulate every corner of it and try to find if there is any spot under the rubble that we can perhaps get through to.
And David, are you confident that you're going to be able to find more people alive under the rubble?
So far, time has gone by, and the body that we find is we have account for right now 8 deaths from this particular scene, the building collapse, and 9 injuries. We still have about the numbers of for estimatedly 79 missing. So yes, we still have hope that we are going to try to somehow speed the process with a really careful process so that we can get to the live one. I'm still confident in my team that they are going to actually get through. We actually can speed a little by little, but we get more. So in the ground of the rubble, we actually can get to the basement. Some of the channel for us to actually get through, we make a progress. And with the machine to scan, we perhaps can be able to reach more. So we're going to actually continue working round the clock. We have a lot of help coming in, and we can have shift that turn. So it makes us being able to work 24 hours round the clock. So yes, I have to answer you that I'm still confident, and I'm actually going to fight until I have to find them.
Yeah, Tavita, we have seen a ramp up of activity out on the streets with more equipment being brought in and just more people around in general. The Deputy Prime Minister was here yesterday, and he said, or was at pains to say that 72 hours is the crucial period of time where they need to really move as fast as they can to try and find and get to people. What do you think of? Will search efforts continue beyond 72 hours if people are not found by then?
We still continue, as I said. We're not going to stop. That no stop at all. And we are trying to make up the time because this is already like 2 days. So that 72 hours, it means that we still have about 40 something of hours left. So we're going to work and get through to that. And continue search and rescue, yes, of course. And I'm not going to let my hope down. Even though I know that 72 hours is a golden period that we have to get to, and some of the survival will be under that. But who knows? We have when we get up there, when the expert get up there, we see some hole as well. It means that perhaps some of the air can get in. Maybe underneath that, we have a somehow empty space under that. If we have anything at all that perhaps help to prolong them over than 72 hours, it might happen. So we're going to continue searching.
Yeah, the mood trying to keep optimistic there with what has been going on here in Bangkok. I can tell you that the sun is going down and the floodlights have come on. As she was saying, the work is going to continue here in Bangkok through the night. Catherine, back to you.
Steve, thank you. That's my colleague Steve Lai in Bangkok there. Well, with me now in the studio is BBC investigative reporter Rebecca Henschke, who has covered Myanmar extensively. It's incredibly difficult to get information out of Myanmar, crucially in areas around Mandalay that were affected by the earthquake, the epicenter of the earthquake. What are you hearing from the ground there?
Yeah, it's still very difficult to get a full picture, particularly in Sagaing City, which we believe to be one of the worst affected areas. The people that we are able to speak to are talking about potentially still hundreds of people trapped under the rubble. In Mandalay, we are seeing rescue work sort of ramped up, where there's Hong Kong teams now working with the fire service there in Mandalay, and they are pulling people alive out of the rubble, injured people. They believe many more are still under the rubble. And as we just heard there from Thailand, there's this golden period after an earthquake that is quickly coming to an end. This is really a key time. And rescue workers are still saying, although they are getting some official help now, particularly from the fire service, they're not getting that heavy lifting equipment that they need to really make a big difference with these huge, villas in one case in Mandalay, houses. They need to have that equipment and they haven't got it.
And Rebecca, it's important to remind our audience that, in the few hours after the earthquake struck, we started receiving reports that the military was carrying out airstrike against rebels, sometimes targeting civilians, close to where this earthquake happened. And those strikes are continuing now.
That's right. We're hearing this morning from rebel forces that there have been more airstrikes today in Magway, which is an area not far from Mandalay, also in the Kachin state. And this is the UN has described as outrageous and has called for it to stop. The fact that the military would be dropping bombs at a time when people need to be rescued from the rubble. The UN yesterday calling for the military to hold all military operations, but that clearly, from what we're hearing at the moment, hasn't happened. From the opposition side, the rebels, the National Unity Government, the opposition exile government has put in place from today a 2-week ceasefire in the earthquake areas, and we're hearing that that's holding at the moment. But also just today, Singapore's foreign minister has called for a permanent ceasefire across the country, that this is the moment after 4 years of bitter civil war that has left a third of the country displaced. Now, in the face of this disaster, is a time for real change and possible ceasefire.
And Rebecca, a recent BBC investigation in which you reported on found that the military controlled less than a third of Myanmar after years of civil war. What does that mean for the humanitarian response to this earthquake? Well,
yes, it makes it a very complex picture. So we looked at who controls Myanmar 4 years after the military staged a coup. And the civilian and ethnic opposition, this pro-democracy forces, they're not supported by any foreign government, but they have proven themselves to be a very effective fighting force. So despite the military having fighter jets from China and Russia, we found that the military controls less than a quarter of the country. So in the area of the Sagai region, it's a patchwork of control. So that makes it hard to get aid to the places because you're not sure who to coordinate with.
Rebecca, thank you. That's BBC's Rebecca Henschke there.